Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Welcome, Lupita. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, Beto. Hi, Ashanti. Nice to meet you as well.
Hello, Joy. How's it going?
Good, going well, thank you. Let's see. Hey, Ashanti. So we do have one participant, Yvette, who might be popping in a little bit later. She had a last minute commitment. So nonetheless, it shouldn't prevent us from getting started with our questioning. Yeah, she says she will try to log in a little bit later today. But again, I want to welcome everyone, sociology majors, to the last sociology club of the meeting, the last sociology club meeting of the semester. This is our third event of the semester. If you are interested in joining the club's efforts for spring semester, please get connected. We definitely, want to encourage sociology majors to get connected to the, campus community. Certainly is something that looks good also on your transfer applications. Our last session, we talked about transferring the process. We heard from students who have recently transferred from Cerritos College as sociology majors. And so, I'd like to encourage you also to check out that, that meeting where we had some really great, personal experiences that folks shared. And we also had the one of our transfer counselors walk us through that transfer process. So we want to help you be as prepared as possible. And so today we're going to be speaking with some folks who graduated with degrees in sociology and are in a variety of fields. We know sociology is one of those very broad fields that can apply to, I want to say, just about any career that you can think about. Some of it certainly requiring additional certifications, training, graduate degrees, experience, right? But sociology being the study of society, the world that we live in, right, I think is very applicable and helpful for a variety of fields. So again, I want to welcome our panelists for today. We have Norberto Lopez, who has been a community organizer for quite some time, right, is now working specifically with labor organizing in the Los Angeles area. He's going to tell us more about his work there, as well as his background in a minute. We also have Ashanti Jones. She is with the Los Angeles County Public Defender's Office, as well as Guadalupe or Lupita Jasso, right, paralegal with the PARS Equality Center. And later on, as I mentioned, we will have hopefully Yvette Letelier, who is a social worker and actually teaches in our department as well. But I'd like to get started with the questioning, if you all don't mind. I think the first question for you all, and I'll start with Beto, is why did you choose to major in sociology? And can you tell us also about your educational background?
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me here. Thank you, Joy. So my name is Norberto Lopez. I go by Beto for short. My educational background. So I come from the neighborhood of South Central, graduated from Crenshaw High School, went off to Cal State Long Beach. I decided that I wanted to be a psychology major at first, not knowing what I was signing up for, and literally took the class 3 days later, dropped the class. I ended up in criminal justice, then ended up finding out that that wasn't for me either. So then I ended up in sociology, and that's where I really started finding the love for what I was already doing, but I didn't know what the meaning was behind it. Being socially active in different campaigns, and just due to my immigration status and being active in the immigration reform fights is what really led me to connect with sociology to another level. And I think that during my educational career, I fell in love more and more with community activism and really bringing people together to really accomplish things that at most times people thought weren't doable. Um, yeah, and then, I ended up double majoring in sociology and Chicano studies, which gave sociology just another meaning to me personally, was being able to see how, as a society we function and how at times, we're forced out of our communities or our countries for the rise of other empires across the United States. And so taking that perspective as well in the work that I do really matters to me.
Excellent. Thank you, Beto. Ashanti, can you tell us a little bit about your educational background as well as why you chose sociology?
Of course. Hi, guys. Again, thank you for having me. So hopping right in, I'm actually from Arizona. So I moved out to California, maybe 2014, graduated from Cajon High School in San Bernardino, and then went to Cal State LA, had my major and my bachelor's in sociology, and I also have a minor in Pan-African studies. So kind of like Bertho, Pan-African studies kind of made sociology even more purposeful for me. Again, also, I took a psychology class and I was like, oh, I don't like this. This isn't for me. I need something else. And luckily, the professors at Cal State LA were so helpful. And I was able to learn and try to understand my individuality and my purpose and the things that made me feel purposeful. And um, so hopping into that, that's why I chose sociology, because I realized I'm like, oh yeah, like I do like the studying of people and I'm trying to understand historical facts, but I know it's more than that, it's deeper than that. So I wanted to get deeper. And so with sociology, I was able to get deeper. And so now I am almost done. I'm actually going to apply for advanced standing and graduation now. I graduate in the spring with my master's in public administration. So hopefully paired with my bachelor's degree, I'm going to be able to do and help others and get into the community and just achieve all the goals that I have. Because as a sociology major, as Joy said, there's so many things you could do. So for me, it's like, okay, at a point in time, it's like, oh, you want to do too much. But now I'm like, no, you can do everything you want to do. You just have to write it down and just one by one. So that's what I've been going through so far.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Lupita, can you tell us about your educational background and why you chose sociology?
Yeah, well, hi everybody. My name is Guadalupe. I go by Lupita. Thanks for having me. I hope anything I say just resonates, even if it's one thing that I say. So I come from Ventura County. I first started at Moore Park Community College, and then I transferred over to Channel Islands, and that's where I got my bachelor's degree in sociology. So I didn't decide sociology until my final year of community college. I was getting ready to transfer out and I was like, okay, I kind of want to start narrowing a little bit more my pathway as to where I want to go. I switched my major like 4 times before deciding on sociology. I remember just talking to a counselor and he asked me like, well, what do you want to do? And I really didn't have a set career that I wanted to go into. I just knew that I wanted to help people. So he mentioned, why don't you do sociology? That's, I think, a great field. And he kind of hinted like maybe social work. So I just took on sociology. And when I entered with that mindset of doing that in my undergrad, when I transferred over to Channel Islands, I ended up just falling in love with the major. I also minored in Chicano studies. So I was able, just how my former colleagues right now just mentioned, we were able to kind of just use that framework to kind of look at sociology from a different perspective. What I really like about sociology is that you're able to look at things beyond the surface for what it is. You're able to dig deeper. You're able to look at something and really analyze it, deconstruct something kind of as a holistic approach. So I just really liked having that opportunity to kind of understand my life the world through just a separate lens. And what I was able to find in a very passionate way with sociology is I started to lean a lot towards immigration. I know sociology touches on a lot of social issues, social problems. So I wanted to be in a position where I could alleviate any type of problem or anything that might be going on with an educational background from an academic standpoint, to see maybe I can alleviate it in this way or just getting involved in some way or another. But that was my path towards sociology. I love how it just happened, where I came to liking the legal aspect of working with immigration. I would have never known that that's what I was going to do, but sociology kind of took me there. So that's my little, in a nutshell, why I chose sociology.
Awesome. One of the themes that I'm hearing from you all is that you switched majors multiple times. I think that's something to let students know, like it's okay to switch majors, right? You're feeling things out, you're exposing yourself to different fields. I have the same story with psychology that I was like, this is not quite it, right? It was almost there, but it wasn't quite it. And you hear that all of our panelists today also have minors in ethnic studies. So I want to elevate that we have a Chicano Studies program at Cerritos College. Doctora Henrietta Hurtado is the chair of that program. And actually this fall semester is the first semester of our Africana Studies department as well. That's chaired by Dr. Natalie Sarton. So I want to encourage students that if you're interested, right, in getting connected, whether it be to your roots or understanding things more from that, analysis of ethnic studies, want to encourage you to take advantage, take a class, take a couple classes, right? Some of our sociology classes, such as race and ethnicity, actually, serves to help complete the AAs for Chicano studies as well as the Africana studies. So something to think about. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I'd like to hear from all of you about the position that you're in now and the work that you're doing now. Can you tell us a bit about that? Again, starting with Beto, please.
Yeah, definitely. So currently I am serving as a business representative as a business agent for Teamsters Local 911. We're a labor union that represents folks in the public and the private sector all across Los Angeles County, as far down as San Diego County. So we're all throughout Southern California. We have approximately 14,000 members. And my specific role right now is working with parking attendants and valet attendants in some of the major airports, such as John Wayne Airport, LAX, Ontario, Hollywood Burbank Airport, as well as the sporting events centers such as StubHub, the SoFi, the Forum, Dodger Stadium, all these major sports centers that host events and concerts. And at one point, I didn't even know they had a union for parking attendants until I got, interviewed for this position. And honestly, doing this work, I've been here for over a month now. And I can tell you that, I'm representing people that look just like my dad. And it gives it so much more meaning to it. And, I'm very honored to be here. But, it wasn't always, the easiest of paths to get here. But nonetheless, I do now work for, one of the biggest, labor unions in the United States, if not the world. But really, really honored to be serving here and assisting our community members as well. Because, a lot of it just, I used to do housing justice before I joined the local here. And so definitely it's all interconnected, wages and housing. And so definitely honored to be serving here right now.
Awesome. Ashanti, where are you working now?
So now I work with the Los Angeles County Public Defender's Office, but specifically the warehouse section or department. I guess that's what you call it. So right now I'm doing a bunch of clerical work, really, but it's really the essential work, because without me doing my job, the lawyers or the paralegals or the LOSAs, whoever it is, even the inmates themselves, they won't be able to proceed with anything. Pretty much I deal with all of the files and the caseloads. So, and transitioning that onto digital platforms. So in addition to that, I also am pursuing my master's degree, but with that, I also am a part of a fellowship where I am working alongside and with this organization called Building Healthy Places Network. And so with them, I'm doing extensive research. I'm actually learning because my goal at the end of graduation is to begin my own consulting and consulting with other organizations and um, local governments about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So through this fellowship, I'm able to learn and see the ins and outs and like the nitty gritty of like organizational work and connecting with other resources in order to achieve the goals that you want. And so it's really eye opening. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's really great. And I think just to point out to everyone, you know, for many of us, like we have to work while we're going to school, right? So it's really great when we can find those opportunities that can actually build our knowledge base and experience in relation to our desired careers, right? So thank you for sharing that, Ashanti. And Lupita, can you tell us more about your work?
Yeah, of course. So right now I am a paralegal. And I work at a nonprofit at Parks Equality Center here in LA County. Something that was given as an opportunity working at a nonprofit, something I didn't know was a thing. I am in the process of getting to become a DOJ accredited representative. So before the Department of Justice, I will be recognized to represent clients. So it's a training that I'm currently doing right now. Almost done, so I will be partially accredited for that. Basically, I'll be able to have consultations with the clients. I'll have a client from start to finish. So whereas before as a paralegal, it's the attorneys that have the consultations, and then I'll do the paperwork and kind of just have that contact with the client, but I will have them from start to finish, as also be able to give them kind of advice as to like what they can do with this type of title. I also have the privilege of being mentored by an attorney, so I will still be able to ask the questions. Thankfully, my attorney is very hands-on, so that's always very helpful. Something that we also do here is our nonprofit focuses a lot with the community, the Persian community. So they brought me on, they wanted a Latina, Spanish-speaking, bilingual person that can do outreach to the Latino community here in Sherman Oaks. So I've been brought on to do that, to kind of open the door for our Latino community as well, because we are very low bono or sometimes pro bono. So we wanna give that to the low income people that need it. The resources are there. So I hope to be able to create that bridge for our clients. As of right now, we are dealing a lot with what's been going on with Afghanistan. So we've been kind of focusing on that, but I'm just happy to help in any way. I love that as a nonprofit, we're also able to kind of connect people to resources that we have here. We don't just focus on the legal department. We also have a social service department in our nonprofit. So we're able to connect our clients with one another here within the community, just to let them know what's available to them. Any way we can help. It goes sometimes a little bit beyond just the legal aspect of what we do.
Excellent. Really sounds like all of you are doing really rewarding work and supporting community in different ways. I'd like for you all to describe for our students the best and then the most challenging aspects of the work that you do. So what do you think, Beto?
I honestly, the best is just, being able to really fight for our community members who at times feel like they don't have power within their work site, or where, management thinks they just run the show and it's, whatever they say goes. But luckily for our members, right, they're represented by a labor union that's actually connected to their membership and is willing to go out there and fight for them. So that is one of the beautiful parts. I think difficult part is when you have some situations where companies just want to get rid of an employee, and sometimes the employee does make a mistake, and there's sometimes those situations where you have to let someone know, hey, you did mess up, and due to that, there's not much that we can do, but nonetheless we still go through the process and do our best to try to find any loophole that we can to really ensure that we can keep the worker in their site. But for the most part, we're pretty successful in what we do. It's really hard to, we try to prolong the process as much as we can as well to ensure that, we could keep that employee there more than anything. More than anything is because they are our members. And we take that very seriously here. And that's what's been handed down to me so far in the month that I've been here. But in my previous experience with being the project director of an organization, just the responsibility that you carry there was one of the biggest. But the rewarding part was being able to pass policy that impacted not just the one city, but it impacted the entire state to a certain extent. So, I think sociology really opened the doors to a beautiful life, to be honest with y'all. I think a lot of times, our parents are always worried on how we're going to make it, how are we going to make ends meet? And that brings in a lot of questioning of oneself. But once you find your path, you find it and you take off with it and you make the best of it, to be honest. I wouldn't change anything of my career.
Awesome. Really beautiful. And Ashanti, for you, what are the best and most challenging parts of your work?
I would say the best and the worst. So as far as best for me, I feel being able to communicate with people, being able to actually, the desire and the purpose of why I found sociology interesting, which is, getting into people's brains and talking to people and developing relationships. I'm able to do that now at the county and through the fellowship. So talking to people, growing with people, learning new information. Me personally, I love learning new information. I'm always like the guess what I learned today type of person. So that's really a huge thing for me personally. And also just knowing that I'm doing good work, regardless if I don't see the results, tomorrow or next week or this year, just knowing that the intention and the work that I do is purposeful and that it's going to pay off somewhere, or I'm doing the work for something, makes me feel good. And that's the best part. I would say the difficult part would be adapting to and changing environments for me personally, as far as a lot of the information that we know as sociology majors or graduates, we know that the intersectionality and the importance and the variables and factors and race and this and that, we understand those concepts, but a lot of people don't. So it's challenging and difficult, but it's not something that I can't manage. But to go into spaces, especially academic spaces, and no one is on the same page, or no one really knows the importance or the historical facts, and it makes it even better as far as like going back to what's the best part, because I know that I'm advocating for someone that isn't there, or at least I'm opening up someone's eyes or mind up to things that they don't understand or they didn't know about, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like that's the best and the most difficult. But a lot of the work that I do or that I see people do, I'm learning now, it's very tiring work and it's very trying if you let it. So I think that it's important that regardless on if it's school or if it's work, that we are able to put in time for ourselves and to put our mental health first in order to give ourselves space, because we aren't going to be able to help others if we don't really manage our workload. So that's something that I'm learning now, because the holiday season is coming. Thanksgiving is next week. I didn't even realize that, but it's like, okay, things are moving fast. So how am I going to manage everything? So I feel like that's just a thing that probably it's in with every field, but that's the things.
Really great point, Ashanti. I just made a note actually to bring that up in a later question. So thanks for bringing that up. Lupita, how about for you, the best and most challenging parts of your work?
I'll start with the most challenging. Immigration is just ever changing. One day you're doing one thing, the next day it just doesn't apply anymore. It's kind of just figuring out how to interpret what's going on to your client. Sometimes you can't really control what gets said on media. Like I'll have clients coming to me like, oh, Univision said this, and they're like panicking, scared. And I'm just like, Univision, like, whose side are you on? Like, don't scare our clients. But I like that they come to us so we can give them that informed decision and just kind of make sure that everything's going to be okay. We are here to help them. A lot of previous administrations, current administrations really do affect the work that we do as well. We see some long-term effects, short-term effects. So it's very challenging sometimes to know that what works for one person a year ago can't work for this person today. But it's just kind of finding those little solutions, those loopholes where you can still apply whatever remedy you can to that case. Every client that walks in has a unique life, has a unique story. So you can't always apply the same thing to everybody. It's just kind of analyzing what sociology has taught us to look at things in different ways, finding what can work for this person. Sometimes people have some things in their lives that happen that can help them out. So just immigration in general is just very, very complex within itself. And we have a lot of clients, at least what I've noticed in the Latino community, they kind of come in a little nervous, a little timid with past experience, sometimes getting the misinformation of going to notarios in the past, just having something maybe bad happen. So my goal is with my clients is I always try to build that rapport, build that connection, educate them, make them aware of what their process is. A lot of the times I'll speak to people and be like, oh, like, so what happened in your case here with this previous attorney? And they're just unaware of what happened. And I want them to be able to advocate for themselves. So kind of just let them know like, hey, like, I want you to be like a part of your own process. I want you to understand it so that they're in the know of what's going on. So the best part for me is just even just the smallest things, explaining something an extra 5 minutes so that they can just feel like comfortable, like, okay, just being able to see somebody that speaks Spanish, the language is sometimes everything, that cultural connection is sometimes everything, just being able to connect with somebody and just have them feel maybe more at ease. And just at the end of the day, I just want to help people. So if me being here, staying the extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, filling out just the form with them sometimes in person, it's just so rewarding to see like how happy they are, like, oh my God, like, thank you for like taking the extra time to do this with me. A lot of people don't, the smallest things, they don't have access to emails or things electronically. So I'm trying my best to always accommodate myself to them. And it's just very rewarding. Just the smallest things can make the biggest difference.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about all of your answers. I'm already feeling so validated in putting this panel together. You know, when we're in the classroom talking about issues, it can feel very abstract, like sometimes the terminology that we use, right? Like we talk about structure and we talk about agency, right? But, you know, what these folks are talking about are the policy that creates our structure, right? And then how they in their roles are able to support people in activating their agency. You're hearing this term loopholes a lot, right? Like, how do we navigate these structures? How can we help people through this? And then the very relationship, you know, sort of components of your work, that all of this sort of comes together to create these powerful moments of human connection, right? Where you're able to support them and how that is so like personally rewarding for you all. I hope that these are some of the takeaways that students are taking. And that actually leads into my next question, which I know I heard Ashanti use some terms like intersectionality, right? And again, some of these things that can feel like jargon in a textbook sometimes, right? But I think hearing these folks talk about how that plays out in these actual like impactful careers and jobs is really important. So can you tell us about how your undergraduate degrees in sociology prepared you for whether it be graduate school, right, in your case, Ashanti, or a professional field for all of you, right? These concepts, ideas, theories, what have you that you've studied in your undergraduate programs. How did that prepare you for where you are now? I'll start with that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I was very blessed, in my college career during my time in college, where I was offered an internship, a paid internship through the faculty union. And that's what really also helped kick off my interest in like labor organizing. Because back then it was just all, within immigration, and then the context around talking about systematic change and what does that mean, and then being able to be a part of it, talking about concepts such as redlining when it came down to housing, and how these policies really affect a whole generation of people and how they affect our lives nowadays, in particular to people of color. And now being able to partake in processes within the city to change that, and to continue to call it out, because although we've been there in the past doesn't mean that it won't happen again. Sadly, we see it time and time again, because our folks, our people do not have the time to be involved as much as we would like them to be. A lot of people who show up to city council meetings are usually older, retired folks who got an education. Personally speaking, my parents didn't make it past middle school. And so for them to go to a city council meeting is very intimidating. And so for us, to have been given the opportunity, or, took the chance, or took that jump to go through the academic system and learn. And now it's our opportunity to give back and really break down these concepts that at times, are alienating to our people. I remember, one of the teachings that I got while in college was, if your parents can't understand what you're talking about, you're not doing a good job in breaking it down. So if you ever want to practice with somebody, practice with people that you love and that you trust, and they're going to be willing to give you real feedback. And that's your family. And so after that, I was able to really hone it in and bring it in. And that's why anytime I did any of the policy work, I make sure that all of it was broken down to a point that was tangible and for people to understand. And then, I do miss that work now. It's breaking down contracts and understanding that each article means something, and that this article represents us right now, and this is what we have to do. But once again, breaking it down to something that's understandable for our members as well. A lot of political education does have to occur. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of our folks who are in the 9 to 5s, they don't have a chance to get, politically active or look into politics. A lot of folks are just, go off of what they see on the media, and how the media influences our way of thinking and how we see people and how we portray people. So definitely, I think that, college really, or sociology really prepared me for all the hard conversations that I'd have to have throughout my life so far, regarding, immigration, housing, or even labor now. So really grateful for all the teachings and the professors that I had. And you're always going to have that one professor that really impacts you, and that really takes you to question yourself and see, how can I be better? What can I do to make a difference? And surprisingly for me, it was a class that I failed that had the biggest impact. And it was a classical theory. It was Karl Marx. And, really understanding the concept, I had to take the class twice. But after that, it really helped push me to be a better person and understand concepts a little better.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are laughing at the idea of the theory class being one of the more challenging ones. I think that is a common experience for sociology majors as well. We enjoy thinking about the social problems and the social issues, but then when it comes to theory, I mean, part of it is like the perspective of the theorist that we're studying, right? It is often like these old white men, right, that speak a different language, and it can be hard to sort of digest, what it is that they're conveying. But I think that's a good lesson for everyone, to not take the supposed things that are failures, right? Like you said, you got an F, but you took so much more out of that, right? And I think there's something to be said about the way that we sometimes get lost in the way that our educational system sort of measures success or measures intelligence or measures learning, right? I think part of hopefully what, this question is helping people understand is to, not just so be attached to the grade itself, but like the deeper learning that can happen, right? Which includes like that relationship building with faculty, with professors, with instructors, right? Who can push us, who can support us in our learning and in our growth. So Ashanti, for you, how did your undergraduate degree prepare you for your now graduate degree that you're about to complete? Congratulations, by the way, right? In public administration, and also the work that you do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would say that sociology and my college experience in its entirety helped me understand me. So I basically had to shift my understanding and like my relationship with education, because it kind of got, personally for me, it was like I was doing it for someone else. So I had to realize, okay, if I'm getting this degree and I'm getting all this debt, I need to make sure that I'm not doing it in vain. And so I started to learn different and understand the concepts differently. And so by learning the concepts and by applying them to my life and seeing how I fit into the concepts or how I understand it, and actually looking at the society. One of my undergrad professors and mentors at the time told me that, because Cal State LA is a commuter school, so typically people don't really have a lot of school spirit. People just go, go, go. And she said, like, stop and look at the walls, like stop and look around, because you have so many opportunities, especially on college campuses. They have flyers everywhere. And so she told me to stop and look at the walls. And literally I stopped one day and looked at the wall, and I seen an opportunity to do like a mentorship. And then I got that mentorship. And through that mentorship, I was able to realize, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is how I can apply sociology, this is how I can do. And so for me, experience and like actually putting myself in situations helped me, but the foundation that I gained from sociology helped me, especially now in my master's program. I'm always the one to bring up a different perspective, because not everybody comes from that background. And it's funny because when I was getting my sociology degree, everybody was like, oh, you want to be a social worker? And I'm like, no, like, I don't. For me, it's too emotionally, like, I can't not bring work, that type of work home. So I would be sad at work and then sad at home, and I can't do that. And then so now I'm getting my master's in public administration. Like, oh, you want to get into government? And I'm like, no, not quite. But the information I see, even through my experience in this program, it's all aligning. And me personally, I feel like you can't function, or both can't function without each other. Like they coexist, especially when you're dealing with the public and when you're in leadership positions and when you have authority, to not have a deeper understanding of the society that you serve. For me, I don't work that way personally. So that's how it helped me. And I love that I have that degree, so that I'm able to walk into these spaces and talk to people that are in authority positions, who've worked somewhere for 30 plus years, that makes decisions for communities that don't see things from a different perspective or don't understand. Because a lot of the terms, even though the concepts that we learn in sociology are older, a lot of the concepts, newer concepts, like they're new. So explaining different identities and different concepts and different things like that, it's I see how it's all connecting, and how the older generation, newer generation, everybody, the whole entire society is connecting. So I feel like sociology played a big part in me understanding the importance of that and the foundation of all of that.
Awesome. I appreciate that answer, because I really strongly believe that sociology has this bridging kind of effect, right? Of knowledge and personal experience, and obviously applying it in professional ways as well. I just want to elevate for students, you're hearing that, all of our participants really, like, one of the commonalities is that they follow their passions, right? So I appreciate what you mentioned, Ashanti, about thinking about, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for me? Am I doing this for someone else? Am I doing this because the world tells me I'm supposed to do this? I'm supposed to, follow these steps or get this degree and then follow some kind of cookie cutter format, right? I think a lot of us struggle with that, of what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to be doing, but not really thinking deeply about the why. Why are we doing this, right? And it's okay, I think, to center ourselves, our personal ambitions, our personal passions, right? Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to have to walk that life, right? And continue on in that path. And so if there's not that personal resonance, then we're not likely to stick with it, right? And a lot of it, as you said, could end up being in vain. I think a lot of people, young people choosing degrees, choosing majors, are thinking about, well, what do people want me to be doing? Or what do I think other people think I should be doing, right? And not sort of honoring themselves and really thinking about, why do I want to do this? And what is that why? So thinking deeply about that, I want to encourage people to do that, as well as.
I just want to add.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to add, because you sparked something for me. I worked multiple jobs in my undergrad. I worked like 3 jobs at once, but that's not the point. The point is, at those jobs, I was told multiple times by people, "Oh, what's your major?" I'm like, "Oh, sociology." "Oh, you should change your major. There's no money in that. What are you doing?" Like, multiple times people told me that. And I was offended. I'm like, wow, like, do you guys tell teachers not to go and teach your children? You need teachers. Like, you need sociologists. And at the end of the day, people like us, people that are like-minded sociologists, are needed, because we see differently, or we understand deeper than most people, understand. So I would definitely add on to what you were saying, Joy, and say that if it's your passion, if it's what you want to do, or even if you don't know what you want to do in the future, if right now that's what it feels like and that's what you align with, then do that, because that's what I stuck with. And at the end of the day, for me personally, of course, everybody likes money and nice things, but at the expense of being miserable and doing something that doesn't fulfill you. Me personally, I can't. So I would just add that on to what you just said.
Bingo. I mean, I think that resonates with a lot of us. A lot of us have heard those same things about, cautioning against majoring in sociology. But I think at the end of the day, those people don't have an understanding of the power of sociology, right? As well as this personal drive and passion that pushes us, in these fields. And the money is not going to make us happy at the end of the day, to your point, right? You could be making money, but you could be miserable in your job. And then especially now that you have an active sociological imagination, sometimes realizing that your job is maybe a part of the problem, right? Is a part of this machine that's harming people, that's oppressing people, like, for better or worse, like, it's hard to turn off that awareness. And I think it's probably better on almost on a spiritual level for us to sort of pay attention to that, because as you're hearing from all of our panelists today, like, there's something deeply rewarding and almost like undescribable about actually helping people, right? About actually making a positive influence in people's lives or policy and shaping this world for the better. And I think, fundamentally, back down to its origins, that sociology has always been designed to be a field to have a positive impact on society, not just about a degree, or not just about a salary, or not just about, I don't know, being a piece of the machine, right? So I want to give Lupita a chance to also share, how do you feel your undergraduate degree in sociology, and you also mentioned your minor in Chicano studies, how did that prepare you for the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, just sorry, really quickly, I saw Brooklyn's hand go up. I don't know if they had a question, but I just wanted to make sure before I started real quick.
Oh no, I was just like raising my hands, like listening, like yay, I like what they're saying and everything.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, so for me, sociology, wow, it's just impacted my life in a very positive way. I'm gonna be reiterating, did I say that right? Reiterating a lot of what my previous colleagues mentioned, I swear I looked at these questions and I already knew what I was going to say, but they're like spot on saying what I'm going to say. That mentorship that they talk about played a huge role. It was huge for me. I remember signing up for something because it's one thing to have your undergrad in sociology, but it's another thing to kind of do little things that kind of put you up a little bit more too. Like I got involved with one of my professors to do undergraduate research, and just that mentorship alone, like it's just like this open door to all these networks that you can be doing. So I just remember one time going to a conference, speaking to some of my professor's colleagues in the sociology world, and just remember thinking like, wow, like all of these people are so accomplished, like these are professors with PhDs, like I would love to be that one day, but it's so, at the time, it was just so intimidating. You don't see faces like mine in those rooms sometimes. So I kind of got my professor, took him to the side, and I was like, I don't know if this is something I can do just by seeing what is there. And he let me know, and he even pulled a separate professor to the side. They were like, we need minds like yours, perspective like yours to come into sociology, to offer these things that we're not hearing, we're not seeing. You're going to give something to sociology that we still need in this field. So it wasn't until then, speaking to my professor and one of his colleagues, where I was like, you know what, like I can go to graduate school, I can go to law school if I wanted to. This is something that never sparked my mind before. I thought bachelor's degree, I'm done, I did it, I finished. But they kind of gave me like the tools, the skills, just them believing in me. It just like what was said before, you just need that one mentor to believe in you, to guide you, to let you know like, hey, like keep going, keep doing this, like you're in the right place. It's just so you feel like you belong there sometimes. So I think with sociology and that mentorship that I was able to get, it really helped me keep going with my dreams. I remember being in undergrad sociology, not thinking I could ever go into law school, become an attorney. It's something I still would love to do, because I didn't know that with sociology, what pathway could take you to the legal world. And there is no pathway. You create your pathway yourself, and let the help you, like every opportunity, let them help you. So I'm just very grateful for what I came across with just as my undergrad. There's changes I would love to see. I hope to be a part of those changes. I hope that I can do this with sociology. It's giving me that foundation to do it. I just kind of want to highlight some of the changes I want to see. I know that the immigrant community kind of gets like the bad rep, but I want to like dispel these myths, like, hey, give you the facts, like this is the research that there is pertaining to these things that you're putting so much negativity on. And hopefully maybe I'll be able to help out with that research and do my own studies and show like policymakers like, hey, look, like this is what's really going on. Like, look at this, like what is being said in the media is not always 100% accurate. Like, here are the facts. Like, hopefully we can make these changes. So I hope I can bring about these changes through my educational background with what sociology has helped me with. Sociology will continue to help me in the future. I strongly believe that. I'm still to this day trying to figure out where exactly I want to be, but I know if I keep going, I will get there. So I'm trying to think if I missed anything that I wanted to say, but I think that was like the main thing. And then just something that Ashanti had mentioned, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of a little bit too, with the whole doing it for yourself, don't do it for the money. That is 100% true. That is the reason why I switched my major 4 times. I initially looked at majors where I thought I could make money. And when I realized my heart wasn't in it is when I realized how poorly I was doing. So I started to focus on something I was passionate about. And I did hear the same thing, sociology, like there's no money in that. nonprofits, like there's no money in that. But if you love what you do and you become the best at what you do, the money will come. So that's what I have to say in my spiel. So I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Beth, I don't know if you wanted to chime in there on that point. I saw you sort of nodding and kind of reflecting on again that like people are driven by the salary, right? Or are told that there's not opportunities. But I think what you said, Lupita, whether it's the law field or any other field, the idea is like you make your own path, right? And if you have the passion, if you have the drive, like there's really no limit. So I don't know, Betha, if you had something to say there.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, I thought at one point I wasn't even gonna make it out of college. At one point, I think my GPA was at like a 2.1. And it was just, I was busy working two jobs, trying to be the school activist, trying to do everything, trying to fight back, because at that time, there was a lot of things going on at Cal State Long Beach regarding ICE and ICE activity within the school. And so I remember that took a lot of time. And I remember just, showing up to class and just being like, yeah, I'm not with this, like this is all talk. All of you are just talk. Y'all ain't trying to show up. And I just remember always battling with that. But then, finding myself and being like, you know what, I need to graduate for myself, not even for, of course, there's a lot of pride and honor with the family, but also it's like my mom always told us, it's like, my goal is just to get y'all through high school. If y'all decide to go get a higher education, that's on y'all. I'll support y'all, but after that, you're on your own. And so then I thought about, if I don't get this degree, what am I going to do after? And just also, carrying the like immigrant trauma, right? And not knowing what's next, and always having to be, in school in order to be a model immigrant. Um, I think that also played a role, but if it wasn't for sociology, allowing me to find myself, I don't think I would have done half the things I've done throughout my career so far. I've traveled throughout the United States for free, doing the work that I love. I don't think a lot of people can say that. But, if it wasn't for me following this path, I don't think I would have ever ended up leading a nonprofit and really being a critical piece in some policy that has affected, statewide policy around housing, one of the biggest issues, of our times. And so I definitely, can't thank enough for the professors that I had who, took time and were really into the teachings, not just about the books, but were willing to take a little bit of more time and talk after class, willing to sit down and just talk a little bit more about taking interest on the activities that one student was doing and allowing us to present in class. I just remember those things now and looking back at how far, the journey has been in such a short amount of time too, because I graduated 2017. So that's 4 years ago. And I look back and I just said, damn, I've done a lot in the last 4 years. And I just look forward to doing more. But I think that the biggest tip of advice that I would give now is, it's not a lot about what you know, it's who you know. So make sure, in sociology, we talk a lot about building relationships, maintaining relationships, understanding relationships. This is your time to shine. Understanding power dynamics, understanding social capital, and how that also plays a role within your growth as an individual, and knowing how to locate who you should talk to within a room. I think that also plays a big role. And not being afraid to ask for a business card. If you go to an event or you go to a conference, ask for those business cards and follow up. Make sure that you follow up. You never know who you're going to talk to. You never know who you're speaking to. And that can also lead to opportunities that you never would have thought of.
Yes, yeah, I think that's huge. It's something that's come up with everyone, mentorship, relationships, right? And it's not just about the degree, it's not just about the piece of paper, it's not even about the GPA, right? To Bethel's point, those things are arbitrary, and at the end of the day, right, they don't fully reflect who we are as humans or who we are as agents in this social world. So one, I think the lesson is don't be discouraged, right, by the whatever the GPA or the grades or what they help, of course, right? We always want to try to do our best, but at the end of the day, like you said, those relationships, the jargon that we use, right, is social social capital and cultural capital, who you know, right? And how they can convey knowledge, information, opportunities to you, right? Those things are huge. So you kind of, I think you were answering this question, right? Of what advice do you have for those interested in pursuing a career in your field? And you're highlighting the role of networks. Ashanti, what would you say, right? For what advice do you have, let's say, for people who are thinking about applying to graduate school, right? In your case, like, how was that process for you? What advice would you have for people maybe thinking about it that may feel like far away for a lot of people who might be, I know a lot of the students that are here participating that will watch this recording later are about to transfer. And so graduate school feels far away, but it's really not, right? Because those 2 years of upper division work, they go by pretty quickly. And then before you know it, you're applying to graduate school. So what advice do you have in that regard? And also, for the professional fields?
As far as graduate school, I would definitely, and being 100% transparent, I would look at what exactly you want to do and see whether, because for me, I had to take loans out to go to graduate school. And so a lot of the time, you make, like how Lupita was saying, you make your own path. So whether it's you just go and you get experience, because that's another aspect of if you want to go get a job somewhere or you want to work somewhere, you need experience. And a lot of people, yeah, you have the degree, but you have no experience. So that's kind of where it's iffy, or where you need to find a balance. So for me personally, I got my sociology degree, and as I was finishing up, because I graduated in 2020, or I was supposed to, but COVID hit, so then that happened. So, but I was in like my last semester, or maybe the last year, and I was getting ready to graduate, and I told myself, all this work that I'm doing, and everyone keeps saying, well, bachelor's degree in sociology, what are you going to do with that? You do the negative talk. And I'm like, okay, you know what? No, I want to further my education. I have interest somewhere else. Also, I know that if I pair this with either experience or another degree, like my master's degree, I'll be better off. So I decided, and after, also for me personally, if I don't know, I talk to people. And I find through having conversations with people, I always find an answer. Even if it's like a stranger, like I'm getting my nails done, I'm like, oh yeah. Like I just talk and talk and talk until I find the answer or I receive an answer. And so I figured out I wanted to go to graduate school, and then I applied. And something to like physically go to the campus if you can, unless it's like just strictly remote, then obviously. But I went to a campus and I was like, I want to go here. And then so I got accepted and I went. And for me personally, I had conversations with other people who went and got their master's degrees. And the big thing that they told me was, okay, you can go get your master's degree, or you can even go further and go get your doctorate or whatever, however you feel, but make sure that what you're doing is purposeful. And she was saying, well, specifically this one woman was saying that because she was like, if you go and you get your master's degree, people will probably encourage you to go get your doctor's degree, but understand that, say if you work somewhere, if you get a job, you going to get a doctorate or another master's or whatever, it's not going to change much. Like go for the right reason. If you want to go because you want to learn new things, okay, that's fine. But if you're going with the idea that, okay, I'm going to make more money or more opportunities are going to open up for me, that may not always be the case. So that's my big advice. If you're going to do it because you want to, do it because it makes sense. Don't put more debt or anything onto yourself unnecessarily if you don't have to. That's my big thing. And for me also, as far as professionally, I would say do what feels right and do what makes sense. I kind of like surrender to things a lot because sometimes we try to control the outcome of a lot of things, but if you just surrender and just go with the flow and go where it feels right, it will essentially make sense in the long run. A lot of the times, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is going to come to whatever. I'm just going to get up and go. And sometimes that's enough to just get up and go. So that's my main thing. But I went straight into graduate school. So I graduated in the spring of 2020, and then I went in the fall of 2020. And so a lot of people told me like, take a break, blah, blah, blah. Like you should stop, I'm like, if I stop, I'm not going back. Okay. If I stop, I'm never going back. But I'm back, or I never stopped. So, and I can kind of feel like the fatigue now, but I'm almost done. But that's why I emphasized earlier that it's important to take time for yourself and to put your mental health first, because I know that the work that we do, because we all have lives, home lives, school, work, and it can get kind of overbearing sometimes. But taking a day or, a few hours, whatever you need to do to try to balance that out will help in the long run.
Awesome. Yeah, there again, that knowledge of self, like knowing yourself, right? Like you said, like if I stop, I'm not coming back. So let me go for it, whereas for other people, it's different, right? Like, no, I want to get some experience because I don't know what I want to do yet for a graduate degree. And I think that can be really dangerous when we feel like we got to go, go, go. But like you said, you're not doing it for the right reasons. So it could be a waste of time, right? It could be a waste of energy. It may not be worth the debt or, all the things that come along with that. So really being purposeful, right? And thinking deeply about that goal setting. I think that why question, being very important as well. How about for you, Lupita, what advice do you have for those interested in pursuing a career in your field? I know you mentioned that you also have hopes to go back, right, to school. Tell us about that process for you.
Yeah, for me, I graduated in 2019, and this is something I wanted to do, but knowing me, I like to take my time with things. So I wanted to get the experience first to make sure, like, is this really something I'm gonna like? Thankfully, I love it. So I know, like, for sure, like, I know what I'm gonna get myself into if I pursue this. A big advice I want to give is take your time with things. Don't feel rushed. That's been my number one problem. To this day, I'm still battling it. Like I feel like I should be at a certain point in my life sometimes. And I feel like if you rush something, you won't take out the experiences that you should have taken from them. And you kind of maybe just rush through. I I just highly encourage to like not put a time limit on yourself. You are constantly growing as a human, as an individual in this society. Let yourself grow. So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways is with time. If you know for sure you're straight out of graduating from undergrad that you want to go to graduate school, then by all means do it. I just know myself that I need to take that time to myself to do it, but I know I will get there. Another big advice I have is to not just lean on the degree and focus on the degree. Like if you're commuting to school, like showing up to the class, doing the homework and going home, really get involved with what we said previously. Like if it's office hours that your professors are offering, like take advantage of those times because a lot of people don't go. And if you're going to be going to a big school, you want those very intimate like moments where you can speak to somebody, even if it's not just with getting help, but just those conversations that you kind of open these other doors to yourself as well, where maybe they mentioned something that you didn't know was available that all of a sudden it's like, oh, like they mentioned something and you just went in to just talk about maybe one thing, but you come out maybe feeling so informed with other things that you could be doing as well. Another thing is that I would probably give as another advice is with sociology, stay curious. There's always questions you're going to be asking. When you get to the end of it, you're going to come out with more questions. I don't think there's ever just like that set answer. You're going to like always just wonder what's going on, and those questions spark other questions, and just stay curious. That's what sociology is. One more, because I kind of wrote them down. Another just quick, where was it? Don't ever feel discouraged about what you're doing. I know a lot of us have heard it, like people maybe smirk at what you're doing with sociology. Stay confident with it. I've had people laugh at me when I told them I wanted to go to law school when I was just in community college, and I was telling them, oh yeah, I'm majoring in sociology. I remember that, so I just stuck to my guns. I followed my intuition. At the end of the day, only you know yourself the most, so do it for yourself and just keep going with what feels right to you, because at the end of the day, it's all for you. So those are like my big takeaways with coming out, or while you guys are still in school, coming out of graduating. I hope any of this has been helpful. And I wanted to also say thank you to Ashanti and Beto for sharing, because it's good to see what other sociology majors have done. So thank you guys for sharing as well. I've taken in a lot of what you've been saying. So not only for me, but thanks for letting me be a part of this as well. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate, especially Lupita and Ashanti. It was a cold call that I just reached out. I did some Googling and I found your LinkedIn and I was like, all right, let me try to get these folks on this panel. Really appreciate that that you were willing to answer that call. Beto, of course, as always, right? We go back, but always appreciate your time. I did actually have a couple more questions that weren't on the original list that sort of came up through the conversation. One of the things that I think is the most mysterious part of this process for students is the job search process. What does that look like? What was that process like for you? What can you let people know to sort of anticipate and how to prepare when searching for a job?
Well, what can I say? I know for sure it's, look for the opportunities, right? Take the opportunities. When you're a student, there's a lot of internships that are going to be offered. And I think that the perspective around internships has also been shifting into paid internships. And so try to find those, that give you that balance where that allow you to go to school, but also work and get those connections, build those networks. I know my experience, when I first graduated back in 2017, I didn't really land the job until December of 2017. So it took me a couple months. I know other people, it may take them a few years, but luckily for me, I built a good enough network, and it's because I took those opportunities. If someone said, hey, let's go to this fundraising event, there's going to be all these nonprofits and labor unions there, let's go. Anytime I got the opportunity to go, I'd be there, and I'd be networking and talking to people. And that's how I was able to get my first job. After that, it was all through the network, to be honest with you. That's how I've been able to do it. When I left my first job, my first organizing job, I ended up doing an electoral campaign for a few months with someone who I met at a fundraiser. And so they hit me up. They're like, hey, we saw you're available. I was like, yeah. Would you like to do this for 3 months? I was like, yeah, for sure. I then ended up in San Diego for 6 months. I then came back to Long Beach. And then from there, it's just been people like, hey, are you interested in this position? And it's like, oh, yeah, let me interview, right? And then I'll go ahead and do it. But a lot of it has just been through the network. So I can't stress that enough. Build your network, meet people. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Collect those business cards. Don't be afraid. I think I was just talking to youth on the weekend on Saturday, and I told them, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to talk to people. You just never know who you're going to be speaking to. And so honestly, I just encourage you to really build your network. Talk to folks, especially around your field, what you want to do or what you feel is calling you. See if there's an internship in that. You just never know. Maybe you find out that isn't what you want to do. So you then start looking at alternatives. But, only because one door closes on you doesn't mean the whole world is going to come down on you. There's always a window that you can break. And so I hope that people really do take the chance and break those windows. I think that we live in a time where, we're changing a lot of the perspectives on what it used to be to what it could be. And so I'm really hopeful for what the future is going to hold, in particular for sociology majors, because I think a lot of people are becoming more socially conscious because of all the things that the media is not portraying. All these new, small independent movie productions producing these documentaries that really make you question how you see the world and how you see people. And so I'm hopeful that, there will be new opportunities for us as sociology majors to take on the world. At the end of the day is, what we want to do to better our society and better our communities. I think that's why a lot of us, or at least personally, that's why I do what I do. Because, I've been through a lot growing up in the neighborhood, and, now being able to live an okay life, a comfortable life. I want other people, to experience that as well. But then I also do see the harsh realities of policy and how that comes down and how we have an impact or how we could have an impact, but at times we decide to not participate because we feel powerless. So take the opportunities, talk to people, network.
Ashanti, did you have anything to add to that in terms of the job search process? Is that it? The networking? Yeah. Yeah. How about Lupita, was there anything you had to share?
So 100% agree with everything that Beto said. Just one thing I've done, I don't know if this will be helpful. I'm very curious sometimes, and even if I'm not job searching, I'll just go on Indeed and look for certain positions. And I like to just look at the requirements to see like, oh, one day I would like to do this. What is it that this job position entails of? So I'll start to kind of like build that experience for myself, looking for it, like, okay, what do I need? What are they looking for? So I'll try to kind of like not necessarily apply to it, but kind of maybe just know in that my head, like, okay, like you should also do this, do that. And then even sometimes I've applied to places where I know I don't qualify for, but I figure the worst that could happen is that they can say no. And it's probably more no's than yeses, but that one yes is everything. So I think just don't be scared to put yourself out there. You never know what's on waiting for you at the other side. I know a lot of this stuff is networking, and I 100% think that's very, very true. But there's going to be some things about you that stand out that maybe it wasn't even through a network, that it was just things that you did to get to where you are. And it could also be that. So maybe if you don't have the most networking that you built, but maybe it's something that made you stand out, that kind of helped get to where you are as well. So networking, and if it's not that, make yourself stand out as much as you can and see how it is that you can get there sometimes. So
I think that's great advice, right? To sort of work backwards. Like if I want to end up here, what are the requirements there, in addition to what everyone is saying about asking questions, talking to people in those positions, in those fields, getting that firsthand right perspective on what we should be doing to prepare for that. My last question is something that Ashanti had brought up, and actually brought up a couple times, that I really appreciate. You know, as sociology students, we already experience how taxing thinking about social problems and social issues can be, being worried about it, being stressed about it, feeling the sense of responsibility of like helping educate our friends and family about it. And that in and of itself can be a stressful process, right? And then certainly being in a position where, okay, now it's your job to like change the world, go, you know. So can you tell us about what do you do for self-care? How do you make sure that you are balancing those demands, those needs, those stressors, and taking time for yourself?
There's a big learning curve that I had to go through personally, right? And this is me being very vulnerable in the position. And you know, there was a time where, you know, drinking was a thing, where we all used to just get together. All the activists just used to go out and party, and that's how we forgot about all how horrible things were. And it was the only time that we knew how to have a good time. But you know, long term wise, you know, health wise, that wasn't going to lead to anywhere but to us all having, you know, bad health. So now what I do after learning, you know, the hard way is just, you know, I go fishing. I like to just go sit by the ocean, patiently waiting to hopefully catch something. If I don't, I didn't catch anything, but I had a good time at the beach, enjoying the sun or enjoying the night moon, with the sound of the waves clashing. And luckily, I've met a lot of fishing buddies there. And so we do carne asadas together. And we just like to just talk about life and how different our lives are. And I'm talking about like senores, you know, older folks who go there on their own and are talking about their life experience and taking bits and pieces from their experiences as I continue to go through life, and just seeing how different lives, you know, can be. So that's what I like to do. I just like to go fishing. So if you ever catch me at a pier or out in Malibu by the rocks, you know, say hi.
Awesome. How about you, Ashanti?
I would say a big thing that I had to understand first in order to get to self-care was that it wasn't my obligation or it wasn't my duty to be anybody's savior. So once I understood that, I was able to kind of get out of that savior complex and realize, okay, the work that you do, you can do it for yourself alone. And even that will be enough, because I believe that if I'm doing and if I'm shining and if I'm a light, that the people that are like-minded or the people that need that light will gravitate towards me. And so far it's worked, because here I am, and I didn't, like you said, you emailed me randomly and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. So that was, I had to understand that first, because it kind of gets taxing and it's overwhelming and you feel like you need to educate everybody and tell everybody. And sometimes it's frustrating because people don't want to listen. But it's a lot. So understanding that you don't need to be that person, that you don't need to be the martyr, basically. And that's okay. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a job. And so that doesn't have to be your job, especially because I feel like a lot of the times in sociology, it's like, if no one's doing it, then I have to do it because this is wrong. Like, somebody needs to bring attention to this. So, but then also understanding that self-care and self-preservation, those are all important things that everyone should do. And that it's like, it's cliche, you hear it all the time, but truly, like, you cannot help anyone if you don't help yourself, or if you don't put yourself first even a little bit, because you turn resentful and you kind of will wake up one day and realize that, oh, where did my life go? Where did the joy go? Because everything is just so dark all the time, because the work that we do, it's dark work. And so for me, I'm transitioning out of this, but I'm super big on like movies and TV shows. I love, like, I cannot say his last name for the life of me, but Guy Fieri, whatever his name is, I watch Guy's Grocery Games all the time. Like, I just watch Guy's Grocery Games, or I try to have more conversations and spend time with my family and my loved ones. I love window shopping, because obviously we don't want to put ourselves into even more debt, but I love shopping in nice areas. And yeah, just like experiencing things, just doing things, because like, we're young, and like, I'm trying to understand that your life is really what you make of it. So you can do whatever you want to do. So if one day, tomorrow, I decide, oh, I want to go jump out of a plane, I can go do that. So it's kind of like now finding the balance of like, you can do whatever you want, but then also you have obligations and duties. So yeah, for me, I'm big on TVs and movies and stuff. I'm gonna go see Eternals this weekend. So let me know in the chat if it was good or not, if anybody's seen it.
It was good. I liked it. I like anything Guillermo del Toro is awesome, but I enjoyed it. How about you, Lupita? What do you do for self-care?
For me, what it started with is it is very overwhelming, because at least with social media, it's the stuff that I would follow, the hashtags that I would follow. It was just constantly on my feed, and your phone is like literally in your hand 24/7. So it's constantly consuming the problems of the world. And what I ended up doing for the longest is I just deactivated social media for months, just because it was just getting so overwhelming. And I feel like sometimes I feel too empathetic about the things that are going on. So that was one thing I did. I learned to come back and not feel so overwhelmed with that. So I'm kind of like learning how to still have social media, but keep it at a personal balance for myself. But stuff that I do kind of just separate from everything. I love to drive. I love to just cruise with my music on. I don't need to talk sometimes. I know sometimes people like to talk about the stuff that's going on. I don't need to talk. I feel like just sometimes hearing the music and just cruising and just letting myself zone out safely, because I am driving. That's something that really just helps me, especially when it's like from work to my house. It helps me kind of do the transition, like, okay, I'm leaving work, going to my house. I'm not taking anything from work to my home, because home is now my comfort space. So I like that I get to do that within that time to kind of just like refresh myself a little bit and just kind of transition from that. Something else I like to do, I just like to surround myself with loved ones, with my family, just joking around. We always like to roast each other or just hanging out with like my friends. Sometimes they don't know what I'm going through, but just being in their presence. When you're with people that make you feel loved, it's one of the best feelings in the world. So I just love being with people that I know care for me and that will always be there for me. Something I do that people think I'm weird for doing it, but I love to do solo trips. I've gone to Palm Springs by myself. I've gone to I've stayed in hostels before the pandemic, just meeting new people, meeting people from different parts of the world, because a lot of people like to stay at hostels. I've noticed I've met people from outside of different countries coming in, and just seeing the way they think is just so unique to me, and just kind of taking a part of that in my life. And so I like to just go places by myself because I realized I don't get stuck in a little bubble where if I go somewhere with groups, you stay with that group. But if you go somewhere by yourself, you're kind of more intrigued to like meet more people, and you never know who you're going to meet. I think that's something with sociology. We just like talking to people, building those relationships. So sociology, what I like is that it just doesn't have to stay within the four walls of your class. Like you bring it to your life. So I like to think that sociology is a part of my self-care. So those are just some of the main things, but I'm big on solo trips. I love them, especially as someone doing it by yourself. It's very empowering, just the things that you find out about yourself. So you get to do what you want. You don't have to wait on people to do certain things. Like you make all the calls. So those are just some of the few things that I like to do for self-care.
Very cool. I appreciate the range of responses that we got. Just want to validate for everyone, it's okay to take that time, to refresh yourself, to be by yourself, to center yourself, right, to honor yourself. It's so important. Again, no matter what, where we are at in our career or in our schooling, I think we could all use, right, like that time to care for ourselves. We do have a couple minutes left. I don't know if the audience had any questions that you can drop in the chat if you'd like, or unmute yourself. I know we covered a lot. Was there anything that anyone would like to say before we close out today? Yeah, go for it, Brooklyn.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming. I really enjoyed this, and I feel like it was very informative and helpful. I know Professor already said that a lot of the students are in the transfer process, and I am one of those students. So I feel like this was very, very helpful because you don't really get to, talk to people that are in the same major, as you, and that has already experienced different things that, might be helpful for your journey and your path. So I just want to say thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Yeah. And Brooklyn is our sociology club president, by the way. So she put the flyer together and has helped organize stuff all semester. And we are recording this event. We're gonna post it for other students to check it out. Just want to thank everyone again for their time, for their efforts, for their energy, and the work that you do, for sure, and transforming the world to be a better place, and also for the time that you took to spend with us and the students today.
All right, well, thank you so much. Bye, everyone. It was nice to meet you, Lupita, Ashanti. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences as well.
Yes, likewise. Thank you guys. And again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for having us. And if you guys ever want us to come back, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.